Most people are good at acquisitions and asset management, or they do is raise money. We're actually the unique one that does raising the money and asset management. We have a full asset management team.
Mhm.
So even though the people we partner with have an asset management team, we're looking at big picture. So, for example, this is in early March 2023, where there's been a lot of volatility in the market. And
Mhm.
we have all these connections in the stock market. And we found that one of the rate caps that we have to buy, something we have to buy for our loan,
Right.
dropped by hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Mhm.
And we were able to save all that, save our investors all this money because we're focusing on this big picture stuff while the partner is really focusing on the day to day. How do I get leases up? How do I do renovations? How do we do all this other stuff?
This is the Real Estate Vibe Show, and I'm your host, Venky Loomba, a real estate investor. And today I have a very special guest, kind of celebrity guest. Welcome, Dr. Pranay.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. I'm super excited to have you with me today. I know we've been planning for a while. And a little bit about Dr. Pranay. He's a medical doctor, a serial entrepreneur, and he's also a podcast host. And podcast name is MD to Entrepreneur. So his unconventional journey to medicine helped him learn the skills to excel in entrepreneurship and real estate. Over the past 16 months, he bought over 200 million in real estate and helped hundreds of others to invest in real estate without being a landlord. Today, we'll discuss his journey from medicine to real estate, how Dr. Pranay built a successful career in both fields. So, Pranay, can you please tell me about your journey being a medical doctor and becoming to a successful real estate entrepreneur? What was that experience like? And how did the medicine help you with the real estate?
Yeah, so I graduated medicine, like a good Indian son. My parents wanted me to go into medicine, and it's something that I was passionate about. So it kind of worked out. But after I finished, I had a ton of debt.
Mhm.
And the idea of what should I do with my money? How do I get to enjoy my life a little bit? And a lot of the other doctors, the ones that were saving, the handful that were saving, would put their money in the stock market, in their retirement accounts. And I thought, I really want to spend another 30 years waiting to enjoy all the money that I made. So I looked around. What can I do? So first, I had to pay off my debt, right? So I wish I could say I flipped some houses and did all this stuff, but I had to make money. So I did it the way I knew how, and that was medicine. So I worked a lot. I worked almost double full time, pay off my loans and to buy my first property.
Mhm.
So I bought my first
Mhm.
property about 14 months or so out of residency. And I thought that was it. I'll buy one a year and then I'll retire in 10 years or have the ability to retire. But as you know, here in Los Angeles, and same with you in the Bay Area, it's very hard
Mhm.
to find good places. And I spent so much time that I was like, man, I should have just worked extra hours. I wasted all this time trying to find this property. And then that's when I found syndications. I was like, what? Someone else could do all the finding, all the renovations, talking to tenants, and they take this small fee, and I get most of the returns, all the tax benefits. So at that time there wasn't much. There wasn't your podcast, there wasn't these other podcasts. And so I realized, I was like, hey, I got to tell people about this. So my business partner and I, we created a course called Passive Real Estate Academy to
Mhm.
teach mostly doctors how to get into syndications. And over time, people were like, okay, we want to invest in you guys. So we did a small fund of funds in the beginning, but over time, we've been able to raise the equity for full deals ourselves.
Right. That's super awesome. But your background in medicine, how did you get in real estate? It's just like a peak of interest, right? It's two different arenas
Mhm.
completely.
So I think, and I get this question a lot, and people say, how I'm in tech, I'm in medicine. I'm a lawyer. How do I go into real estate? But
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the skills that you've learned along the way, they're completely transferable to real estate. So yeah, it's a little bit different, but being able to talk to patients, being able to negotiate, being able to research well, those are all skills I learned in medicine. And I was able to pick up real estate pretty quick. It was new, but honestly, and I tell people all the time, you could pick up real estate in a book or two. Just go on Amazon, look at the top two books on real estate, buy them or download them, read them, and you'll get 80% of the way there. And the rest of the 20%, what people pay us for is learning. And you got to just get your hands dirty. And so read a little bit, but get started.
You said it very well. As long as you have the basic skills that you learn in any job, and plus you have the soft skills, I mean, these are all transferable skills, and you could be successful in any field. So, share with me some tips of investing in real estate without being a landlord. How did that experience play out for you?
It was great. Yeah. So at the time, if someone had created the company that we created, I would have
Mhm.
just sat back and gave them all my money. But they didn't. We do real estate a little bit differently. So,
Mhm.
we have a different code of ethics. A quick example: someone brought us a property to us, and we're fortunate because we raise all the equity. People bring us deals. So it was a great deal. It was in Portland. It was a tax abatement, meaning that those people, because the owners, because they were giving affordable housing, they saved a fortune on taxes.
Mhm.
But that only lasts for 10 or 15 years, and eventually it runs out. So the seller wants to sell. The buyer could come in, raise rent $600 per unit, kick out everyone, evict a lot of people, and make a fortune. But it's something that didn't feel right with us. No doubt someone bought that property and did well, but for us, being doctors, we didn't want to be the ones that were kicking out everyone, right? So people like to invest with us and alongside us because we do things a little bit different than other people. And also the fact that they don't have to do any of the work. We provide really like a concierge level experience that, uh, especially doctors, especially people that are highly skilled at one thing. A lot of times they lack skill in other things. So, for example, personal finance, or I walked someone through how to use their Bank of America application to send us a wire because they had never sent a wire before. So it's just stuff like that. We really try to make it easy because doctors are busy working 60, 80 hours a week.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong in that. Just being good in one profession, whatever you're
Hmm.
doing. And there's people like us, like you and me. We can bring another avenue for them to invest or multiply their wealth, whatever they got. So you said a couple times that you do things differently. And the way I
Hmm.
understand is you are more like a capital partner to others because you're bringing the capital in the game. So help me understand your business structure. How you differentiate from others, or how do you manage the deals that come to your table being a full-time medicine doctor?
So I think our real estate syndication business is three separate businesses in one. So one is
Mhm.
acquisitions, going out
Mhm.
finding the deals.
Mhm.
Two is asset management. After you find a deal, how do you implement the business plan and make sure it's happening? And three is raising money. I
Mhm.
find that there's very few people that are good at all. Uh,
That's true. Mhm.
and if you are good at all three, you need like a team of like 200 plus.
Mhm.
I've seen it. Most people are good at acquisitions and asset management, or they all they do is raise money. We're actually the unique one that does raising the money and asset management. We have a full asset management team.
Mhm.
So even though the people we partner with have an asset management team, we're looking at big picture. So, for example, this is in early March 2023, where there's been a lot of volatility in the market. And
Mhm.
we have all these connections in the stock market. And we found that one of the rate caps that we have to buy, something we have to buy for our loan,
Right.
dropped by hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Mhm.
And we were able to save all that, save our investors all this money because we're focusing on this big picture stuff while the partner's really focusing on the day to day. How do I get leases up? How do I do renovations? How do we do all this other stuff?
So, what are some of the common misconceptions about investing in real estate, and that some of the novice investors, they wanted to learn so they can avoid all the pitfalls?
So in a lot of people think, one, I have to be a landlord. I have to buy
Mhm.
the real estate in my own name. And that, that comes with having to get all these phone calls and that the only other way to invest is by a REIT, a real estate investment trust, which is
Mhm.
like the stock market.
Mhm.
But there's a whole spectrum in the middle. You could even do turnkey, which is you're buying active real estate, but someone else is managing the whole thing for you. We like to think we're a happy medium where you buy a share in a building, and according to that share, all the benefits, so the tax benefits, the depreciation, the profits, all that goes to you as the investor. But because you're investing in a company that buys a property, you don't have to worry about the liability. So, especially doctors worry if someone falls, if something happens to their properties, they don't want to be held liable because we have so much liability in our day-to-day job that we don't want anything else elsewhere.
Yeah, I know different kind of fears people have and different kind of hesitations as well. It's not that easy to overcome your hesitations when you're trying to invest with somebody. But since you said you're a capital partner with others, you're always looking for investors or helping investors multiply their wealth. So how do you identify some of the profitable opportunities when they come to your table? And how do you compare which one is better for my investors? I should run with this versus other.
Yeah, so we're fortunate because people bring us deals. So they
Exactly.
say, hey, uh, and we only work with a few select people. And the nice thing is, because we're able to write checks of anywhere from 8 to 15 million,
Mhm.
people open up our books, open up their books, right? So we're like, hey, we want to look at all your deals. How are they performing? And even me as a single investor, I wouldn't be able to do that, right? So you get a peek behind the curtain. So we're
Mhm.
able to do a much deeper level of due diligence than normal people are. And because they're bringing us deals, we're able to really cherry pick the best. So, for example, someone brought us 3 deals in August 2022, and one of them had a fixed interest rate. It was a loan assumption for 3.9%. So fixed for 9 years, right? And 3 years of interest only. So now, but even then, that interest rate was killer. And of course, we picked that one, right? So we're looking at another deal right now in early 2023 of a 4.3% interest rate loan assumption. So we are able to really pick the best of the best. But in addition to that, because we work with so many people, we're able to really have an idea of what people do to underwrite. What does this group do? What does this group do? And that makes us a lot better as opposed to someone that is vertically integrated. I think that can be a harm to you sometimes.
So, in your opinion, what are some key factors that determine the success of a real estate investment? And if you see any risk, how do you mitigate that risk? Because you said few things here, because you have build the relations with the sponsors or the operators in the industry, and you get to see a lot of deals, and you get to evaluate a lot of deals, and you figure out this interest rate is higher or lower, whatever your criteria is. Based on that, what are some of the key factors that
Yeah.
determines the success for you?
Yeah. So there's a couple of things. So one is what basis are you getting the property at? Meaning, what are you buying it at? Because that can never change, right? So
Exactly.
loans, everyone's going to say loans are very important,
Mhm.
but that can change, right? You can refinance, you could do a lot of stuff, but the purchase price can't change. So that's probably one of the most important things. And a lot of times, if you get a great uh, price, then pretty much everything else can suck, but the property will still do well. Not 100%, but chances are just so much higher. But if instead you overpay for the property, which is happening a lot right now, you're just behind the 8 ball, right? And you just have to catch up. The bigger macroeconomic picture has to be better because you're so far behind. But if you get a property for a lot cheaper than what's going, then you have a big buffer. And trying to get that buffer as big as possible is great. And I think that's why right now we're not seeing anyone buy or sell anything because asset values are up here, but they should be down here, right? And no one wants to buy in that buffer space. So number one, purchase price. Number two, loans, right? So
Mhm.
the highest chance of getting a default is by not being able to pay your loans, right? So
That's true. Mm-hmm.
and the purchase price obviously affects that. And then number three is asset management. Are you able to really execute? What we have realized now being in the industry is it's an arms race for talent. It's super hard to find property managers. You're having to pay them a fortune. A lot of them are leaving for better places, but they are probably one of the most important people in the whole syndication business, but often some of the least paid. So, a lot of times we're offering bonuses and special perks to our property managers because they're really the linchpin and really run this,
The
sometimes
whole
60,
thing.
80, $100 million business, then you don't want them to be the least paid.
That's true. That's a good point. I really like that. That's awesome because you're doing the asset management yourself. But how do you get into that kind of partnership where you are a capital partner and then are you the sole asset manager or how does that work?
So we do a partnership. We
Mhm.
will asset manage alongside. So
Alongside.
in practice, how that works is, we're on all the property management calls. We go walk the property ourselves. We'll look at comps, and most of our sponsors are very thankful.
Mhm.
Having more sets of eyes on the
Mhm.
property it just shows so much more interest. The property managers know the maintenance. They know we're checking in on things, and it just shows that we're very interested.
So, for those who are interested in getting started in real estate investing, what advice do you have for them in terms of building their knowledge, finding the
Mhm.
mentors, or taking action? Just like you, just being in a medical field and all of a sudden, big, I would say tycoon. I'm not sure it's the right word, but I would say yes, big tycoon in real estate as well. Feel
I would
that.
take a first look at what your talents are and what you
Mhm.
enjoy. So, are you a high paid W-2 employee, right?
Mhm.
Where uh, it makes more sense to work more, like you work for Google or Facebook, and it makes more sense just to work more of your job, then maybe something like syndication would make sense. Or I call it burnt to a crisp, where you're so burned out that you want to leave your day job. Then potentially something like flipping houses or buying your own real estate makes sense. Uh, in the business, it's called sweat equity, right? So there's capital or regular equity, and there's sweat
That's
equities.
right.
Regular equity is where you put money in. Sweat equity is where you put in time. But if you really want to succeed, is where you put in both, right? And so take an inventory. Like, what do you enjoy? Like, a lot of doctors really actually enjoy like doing fixer uppers. They like nailing stuff to the wall because it's a different kind of thinking and doing. For me, I don't want to fix anything, right? I don't want to fix anything on my own house, let alone a house someone else is living in. So syndications make a ton of sense. Just know that try to think long term. So if I if you pick a path, you're like, okay, yeah, I'm going to buy a couple condos. But to really be successful, you probably need 20, 30, 40, right? And are you really going to want to be doing that? While on the syndication side, an extra 10, an extra 20 syndications really doesn't add much time to my schedule.
So the next question I was going to ask you that about your blog, but before that, let's talk about why medical professionals are interested in real estate investing. This is a question I had in my mind for a long time because, like you mentioned, there's so many different roles that you can play in the real estate game. Being an LP, GP, or the capital raiser. But a lot of doctors that I work with in my arena, they are only interested in being a LP or a limited partner in a deal because they love whatever they do. They just want to focus on that. And on the side, they're just making their money work for them. And they're just multiplying their wealth. They enjoy doing that. So what is that something was different for you that just like made you just go as a general partner or a being a capital raiser because you thought you can do much more than being an LP and you can handle the both worlds perfectly?
So I tried to look at where could I make maximum impact in my life, right? So I thought maybe it was research, maybe it was in medicine, and I love seeing patients. I still see patients, but I thought the most impact I'd make on the world is by helping doctors become financially secure. A happy doctor, a financially secure doctor is going to make better decisions, is going to take care of patients better. So that's really what we focus on, getting doctors into great investments. And a lot of times, we only do value add multifamily. So if it's anyone else, we'll just send them to somewhere else. But as long as they're getting into good deals, I'm happy. A lot of times we'll even talk through someone else's deal, which I'm happy to do because as long as it's a good deal, just go ahead and invest. So that's how I make an impact, by helping doctors invest in real estate.
So, what was your first deal like? You said you got in as an LP in the first deal.
Mm-hmm.
So, what was that like? Was there any hesitation? I don't think there was any hesitation for you because you wanted to do something bigger than whatever you were doing already, right? So, you were open to all the possibilities in your life. So, you jumped on as an LP. But what was that experience like for somebody who's still sitting on the sidelines and maybe considering to invest in real estate?
It would be good to find out who of your people want to invest. So if you want to do exactly what I did in terms of capital raising, you probably know friends and family that have looking for a reason to invest, right? So give them a reason, right?
Mm-hmm.
Educate them,
Mm-hmm.
talk to them, educate them, explain real estate, educate yourself, maybe take a course, read a book, and then it's very easy to become known as the real estate guy or gal in your place, because most people don't do that, but everyone wants to, and they very easily will reach out to someone and connect with them. So, our very first deal was our capital raise was 3 million, but we were able to do that because my partner had built a brand before that. Otherwise it probably would have been only a couple 100,000, but for a person just starting, that's plenty, and you can scale up over that long time. Don't expect to do a lot right away, but the first deal just helped us learn so much, and we're still in that deal because it's only been 2 years, and we're still learning a lot. So talk to other people now. There's a ton of doctors and other professionals that raise money, and we're all pretty friendly. Talk to each other, talk to you, go on your podcast, and so it's very the world is very open if you go out and put yourself out there.
That's so true. I like that because, like they say, your network is your net worth. Because meeting with the like-minded folks, that helps a lot because everybody's on the kind of similar journey, and it's just like out there to help each other and then kind of grow together. But $3 million first raise, oh my God!
Yeah.
Talk to me about that. How did you do it? Because you said you had a partner and he has already set up the branding and everything. So you being new, how did you find that partner, or how did you join hands with him?
Yeah, so this was back when I had just finished residency. I made a conscious decision that I want to get more involved. I want to take control of my finances. So there's a bunch of doctor Facebook groups, and they're pretty big now, but it was a lot smaller back then. And someone made a post like, "Hey, does anyone live in Los Angeles and want to meet up?" I was like, "Hey, I live in Los Angeles. I will host a meetup. I'll pay for it. I'll market it. I'll clean up. I'll do everything. I just want to be involved." And my business partner saw that and was like, "Hey, want to jump on the phone?" Because he saw my enthusiasm. And our very first phone call was 3.5 hours. In the middle, my wife was girlfriend at the time. She's like, "Who are you talking to? Is that really a boy?" But we just instantly connected, and we've been working together ever since.
Oh, that's nice. And afterwards, you finding partners are pretty easy for you. I mean, what is one skill that you acquired in finding partners that works for you all the time now?
I think don't just jump into a partnership. So, for example, he had a brand, and he was like, "Hey, I have this Facebook group. It only has a couple thousand. Do you want to help me build it?" It was unpaid, right? Don't ask for a payment right away. So, I was like, "Yeah, I'll learn it," and I built my own brand, at the time, and then after we did that, we're like, okay, let's create a course together. And we created a course. I got paid. And then we're like, okay, now let's create a company. Let's bring in another partner. And so over time, you build that trust. But in the starting, just look to see how much value you can give, and if you find someone that maybe isn't giving as much value that you are, it's time to move on. But take that risk. Take that risk because the upside is just so high and the downside is a little, way lower. But if you give value and they give value back, then it's like an asymmetric reward.
Wow, you said it very well. And then plus, whatever you're seeking is seeking you too, like Rumi
Yeah.
said. So basically it's just you becoming, everybody's kind of, I say, piece to a puzzle. It's just finding the puzzle and getting fit into that. That's just like basically, then you're part of the bigger schema, kind of finding the right partners and doing the right things. And the other thing that you mentioned is about the brand building, because this guy who you partner with, your partner had a brand and you were starting new, you thought you wanted to build your brand. So what do you see, why you felt it was important to build your own brand and how did you do that?
Yeah, well, I can't say I'm an expert because I'm still trying to do this. And yeah, so you have a voice and people want to listen to you because there's so many people out there and very few of them are willing to take a stand. So it feels like, to us podcasters, it feels like there's a lot of podcasters, but there really isn't. There's 3 million or so podcasts, but if you look at the ones that have published weekly in the past for like a year, it's only 150,000 in the whole world. So there's just so much opportunity. And so you have to be a brand because otherwise, even in medicine, you can be easily replaced, right? One doctor is the same as the second doctor, but if you become known for something, then you can't be as easily replaced, and you get a lot more opportunity than someone that just is a no name.
Wow, I like that the way you said it. You have to differentiate yourself. You have to create a competitive edge for yourself. No matter what field you are, whether it's a medicine or a real estate, and you did that, and you started your own podcast. So let's talk about that. What are some of the benefits that you have seen with your podcast and with your own brand?
So the podcast is called From MD to Entrepreneur. It talks about my journey in entrepreneurship, and I also interview industry experts. And one thing, which is something I didn't really think about, is I get access to all these people that normally I'd have to pay thousands of dollars to get consulting. So I'm like, hey, I need to hire this person. What do you think I should do? And people are so friendly and happy and willing to be able to help you. But it's cool. I was talking to my brother and I was like, oh, did you listen to my podcast? And of course he said no, because that's what family do. But he's like, oh, my friend listens to your podcast. I was like, oh, that is cool, right? That someone, and my brother's a doctor too, which is why I was asking. But yeah, so someone that he knows me, and it, just feels a little good inside that you're able to, not that he's listening to me, but that I'm providing value to this person, because right, they're taking time out of their day to listen to my podcast.
Great. So what do you do to grow your audience for your podcast? Anything special?
So we do a lot of social media. So we post a lot of videos. We're doing YouTube Shorts soon. We post on LinkedIn, and slow but steady.
That's good. How long you have your podcast for? For a long time now?
So it is, it just started May last year.
May last year. What made you decide that you wanted to have a podcast?
So you have to have something. You have to have some type of platform. So some people do newsletters, some people do blogs. I had tried a blog, but it's just writing was tough. I was like, I can talk. Let me figure this out. And I like talking to people. So it made it a lot easier than having to come up with all the material myself. But right now I've gone full circle because a lot of people have been asking me to do more solo episodes. So I will be doing that shortly.
Wow, that's so nice. Congratulations. I'm super happy. And everybody, please tune in to MD2 Enterprise, to Pranay's podcast. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of golden nuggets. So can you share one golden nugget with my audience here?
Yeah, just whatever you want to do. Don't don't procrastinate, because that's actually fear. So
Mhm.
a lot of people comment on my nice background for my podcast. That's because I spent a year and a half just researching good mics, cameras, background images, and all this stuff, when I could have started on my podcast and I would have had a year and a half of experience. I would have, now looking back, I would have killed for that experience. I would have just gotten so much better at the craft. So do a little bit of research, but get started. You'll figure things out along the way.
Mhm. That's true. That's a good advice. Thank you. So this brings us to a rapid fire round. I'm going to ask you 5 questions. You're going to answer in one word or one sentence only. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Right. The first question is, what is one of the most important things that you have learned in your life, which worked for you all the time after learning it?
So try to find someone that has been where you are, and just ask them. And it might take you 10 people to ask, but one person is going to point you in the right direction, and it's going to save you months, if not years, of time and effort.
Oh, nice. So it's just like have a role model in your life
Yeah,
and follow
and it's
their.
yeah, and it doesn't even have to. You don't even have to talk to this person. If you find someone that's where you are, they probably have a book, or they probably have been on a podcast, and you could listen to their story and potentially get this experience without having to actually talk to them.
That's true. So you don't have to, you're saying you don't have to reinvent the wheel
Yeah,
because
exactly.
somebody has already done that, whatever you're trying to do. So it's good to follow that success path instead of
Mhm.
just reinventing the wheel and starting from the scratch. Oh, I love that. So
Mhm.
what is one best book that you have read or recommend to my audience?
Yeah, so I always recommend this book, and it's not an entrepreneurship book, but it's called The Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows. And what the book does is it puts words to emotional feelings that we have. So one word, for example, is called half-wise, and that's the feeling you get when you're past 50% of a vacation, and all you think about is going back home, and you get kind of sad, right? Or when you're at the ending of a book, or the ending of a video game, or ending of a movie, you get kind of sad, right? As opposed to the beginning. So there's just a lot of words in there that help capture human emotion.
Wow, it's on human emotions. What is that name again?
Called The Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows.
Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows. Wow, I'll get that one. That's super awesome. But being a doctor, what is your experience like? I mean, you like mentioned when you're coming to a closure of something, everybody feels sad. Everybody feel all of a sudden, the sorrow of being the disconnect versus when you're starting something new, we are like all pumped up, charged up.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Why that happened? It's a common emotion. Everybody has that.
Yeah, I think it's kind of the glass half full, half empty kind of thing, right? And it's coming to a close, right? Something's coming to a close. It's just like how when you're driving to something, right? Driving to the airport versus driving home, right? It's a lot different. You have this excitement that you're going. But I think one thing to think about is like think about all like the time you're going to be nostalgic. Like, so now I have young kids. We think like, oh, it kind of sucks watching them grow up, but also like it's so nice to have go through that experience. And so we go through old pictures and we're like, oh, remember this, and that way you get to relive these feelings.
Like more like a memory than I know. The
Yeah.
reason I asked you this question is one of my friends, she went to recently, she just started a trekking trip for 3 months or 4 months. And then somebody was telling her when you ended, you're going to be very sad that it's over because right now the whole family is so pumped up that they're going for 3 months and like all the unknowns that they're excited
Yeah.
about because they
Yeah.
do not know what to expect. And then when it's going to be end, it's just like a memory. Oh, yeah, we did that. So if people feel sad, like you were talking earlier, it's like a very common human emotion because the fun is kind of over. It's kind of done. Now you have to look for something else, something new to get charged up again. Wow. So
Exactly.
in one word, what does life mean to you?
Life means joy, being joyful.
Nice. I like that. What is your biggest passion?
Biggest passion,
Mm-hmm.
teaching.
Oh, I like that. If you can turn back in time and talk to your younger self, what would that be and why?
I think just being more assured of myself. I had a lot of doubts along the way, and I didn't take as many risks as I would have if I think I had more confidence. And I think a lot of life is taking risks, especially when you're younger.
That's a good one. How can people reach out to you, Dr. Pranay?
Yeah. So the website for the podcast is called is FromMD.com. You can sign up for the newsletter. I give weekly productivity tips and weekly episodes. You can get the podcast at Apple, Spotify, anywhere. And the real estate group is called AscentEquityGroup.com. And that's the website.
Great. Thanks for being with me, Pranay. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.